Contact us to avail the combo offer of General Studies and Public Administration optional with 20% discount.
Good morning everyone. So today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 28th September. Okay, let us see which are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Simultaneously we will have look at the newspaper also. So it will be good for you if you directly mark on the newspaper. At the same time, it is also important that as it is 10 o'clock, we believe that before 10 o'clock you should read newspaper. Okay, so at least give half an hour or 45 minutes to read the newspaper and then come to the classroom. It will help to further strengthen your preparation because the new perspectives will be opened here in the classroom. Okay, so on first page, yes, not much relevant articles, but right to government aid, not fundamental right, as Supreme Court says. You can see here, an institution's right to government aid is not a fundamental right, Supreme Court. So from polity perspective, it is important. Article 30. So there are two clauses in Article 30 which talks about the rights of the minorities to maintain their educational institutions, right? The minority word here specifically ensures both linguistic as well as religious minorities, right? So what this particular judgment is all about, we'll look into this ruling here. Then let us go to the editorial page directly, page number 6. There are two editorials on left hand side, the column there. Okay. And the first editorial, topmost, words and deeds. So that actually talks about our Prime Minister's address at UNGA. Okay, so that is not much relevant to our examination. Okay, just quickly you can read that, but not much relevant. Okay, so all these things like, yes, India is mother of all democracies and all, you can mention in essay paper. As said by our Prime Minister at UNGA address, India is mother of democracy. When such relevant topic is there, okay, it adds weightage to your answer. Okay, whenever you add some references like Prime Minister, President address and all. Okay, so yes, but the second article, high water, it talks about cyclone Gulab recently had landfall in northern coast of Andhra Pradesh and southern parts of Odisha. So yes, so it talks about now the landfall is there, the impact on the lives and livelihoods as well as we can say property of the people in that region. So now the relief and rehabilitation should work there. In the second part of the article, it talks about the management of cyclone as a disaster. So some of the mitigation and adaptation measures are also required, especially in the light of climate change, global warming and increasing frequency of tropical cyclones in Indian Ocean region. Okay, so all these aspects will discuss in detail here. So that is relevant to disaster management, GS3 paper, right? Then the topmost lead article, you can see, it talks about the Quad could end up running out of steam. So this is relevant. Up till now we discussed only about AUKUS. Whatever the articles we discussed, they were only talking about significance of AUKUS. Now the writer is relating that AUKUS with Quad grouping and it is discussing that impact of AUKUS on Quad grouping as well as India's interest. So this is relevant to international relations part, GS2 paper, right? Yes. The curious case of Punjab Congress, now it is political in nature, not much relevant to our examination. The same is the case, you can see that the personal book review of Indra Nui, chief of that PepsiCo company, that is not relevant. Again, we can say that PM Kusum scheme, revitalizing PM Kusum scheme. Now this is important for geography optional students but not GS. Why? Because technicalities are discussed of this PM Kusum scheme. And in general studies, such technicalities related question will not be there. Do you remember why question on solar pumps was asked in prelims examination this year? Very technical question was asked. Only those from the engineering background easily could attempt that. Do you know centrifugal pump, solar pumps, and piston and cylinder types of pumps type of question was asked? Basically the context was of PM Kusum scheme. Since 2019 when this scheme was launched, it was in news always. Okay, and it is related to standalone solar pumps as well as grid connected power plants, right? So that's why we have to understand this is important government scheme. So there can be further question in detail. Okay, so we'll talk about this scheme and all three components of scheme in detail. We'll try to understand for prelims examination again. Yes, now moving on to next pages. Yes, we can talk about that. Yes, DRDO tests Akash Prime missile.
So this one measuring regional.
Yes, that is not much important, we can say that. It is talking about the NIRF ranking, okay, National Institute Ranking Framework. Earlier we talked about when this ranking was released by Ministry of Education, which are these IITs and the universities in top rankers, but it specifically talks about or analyzes that NIRF. Now that is too much detail to ask in the examination. Okay, so that's why we are not going to discuss that particular. Yes. Then we talk about the DRDO test Akash Prime missile. Okay, so this is surface to air missile. Just you need to remember that it is surface to air missile and a further new version of Akash missile. So Akash Prime. Okay. Yes, page number 8, bottom side. Page number 8, bottom side. Okay, other articles are not relevant to our examination. On page number 9 also, yes, the topmost article, it talks about CAST data 98% error free. Okay, so this is Registrar General of India, Census Commissioner and Registrar General of India told the panel. So basically you remember the caste census article we discussed earlier, editorial, right? So in that we talked about the government of India giving its reply in Supreme Court that socio-economic caste census, there are some irregularities in that and that's why it will not be used for any public policy formulation. But now the Registrar General of India is saying that the socio-economic caste census that was carried out, 98% of is error free. Okay, so to some extent some contradicting facts are there. 98% error free is, that is fine, right? 2% errors will be always there in any kind of beneficiary list or any kind of list by the government data. Okay, so further there will be more discussion. At present just it is follow-up. Try to remember caste census is now in public discourse. We are discussing this demands by Bihar government, UP government. So it is in news. So what we'll do, we'll just have follow-up quickly like this. Okay. Then moving on. Next page, important. Yes, this is important. Prime Minister launches National Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. The name of the scheme here is Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. Okay, in first paragraph itself it is mentioned there. Okay, so in his address while inaugurating, Prime Minister also talks about how different technologies has helped during pandemic. So can there be question in paper, GS2 paper or GS3 paper, role of technology in health sector? Such kind of questions are being asked. So role of technology in education sector, role of technology in health sector, role of technology in, let's say, rural development, women empowerment. Try to prepare all such type of questions. So Prime Minister is talking about CoWIN platform, Arogya Setu app, e-Sanjeevani and telemedicine. So directly mention in your answers. Okay. So yes, and also significance of this particular mission, health ID mission, that Ayushman Bharat, we will talk about that. Okay. Then our External Affairs Minister Jaishankar is in three-day visit to Mexico for 200th years of independence celebration of Mexico. So yes, that is as a follow-up to IR section. We'll talk about that, because after 41 years, our External Affairs Minister is visiting Mexico country. Okay, so also you should be aware about there was question last year. It talked about diaspora in America. The role of diaspora in America. It said only America, not specifically US. So America includes all America. Okay, so we only know about America as US. Okay, so many students missed on that time, and we know that major diaspora lives in Canada also, and then other countries, small countries, even in South America, many of the diaspora in small countries is also there. So you should be aware about, so whenever the outcome of such visit is in news, you should be aware about some facts there. Okay, so economy related, not much relevant articles. Fine. On IR page, fine. So not many articles to have follow, right? So we'll discuss all these articles now one by one in detail. So first article, Quad could end up running out of steam. Yes. Now, from international relations perspective, see, whenever a particular topic is in news for quite a long time, that becomes relevant to our examination. And if you have the previous year analysis, IR section questions, they always are appearing from the current affairs in GS2 paper. All 4 questions in last year mains examination, GS2 paper, they were from current discourse. Okay, quad question was in news for almost 2 years now. Okay, so topic. Now this AUKUS is in news, daily articles are appearing, right? So we can expect such question, and it is assuming more significance than quad to some extent. So that's why this article is relevant, impact of AUKUS on quad and India's interest. Fine. So let us understand the usefulness of AUKUS to quad first. Instead of, let's say, first of all talking about negatives, first of all talk about positives. So we know that AUKUS, it is nuclear submarine technology transfer by US and UK to Australia. Okay, specific security alliance is there. Now, significance for quad, we know that quad is directed towards Indo-Pacific region. For ensuring, the larger aim of the quad grouping is ensuring free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific. Use such words in your answer. Free, open, inclusive Indo-Pacific. Okay, so ultimate aim. Now, through that AUKUS or transfer of this technology to Australia, to some extent, the ultimate objective of quad is going to be achieved. It is creating some kind of deterrence towards hegemony of China in Indo-Pacific region. Okay, so ultimate objective of ensuring free, open and inclusive is going to be achieved. Second aspect is that it is to some extent reassuring US allies that US is committed towards its protection. So US allies in Indo-Pacific, especially Australia and Japan. So transferring such critical technologies to these countries, US allies, it ensures that these allies are safe. Okay, so to some extent, as these are also members of quad, they are also members of quad grouping, right? So quad is being strengthened to some extent. So though we can understand quad is not security alliance, okay, but indirectly all these activities are strengthening these, let's say, alliance of these countries in terms of defense cooperation, security cooperation. Outside the quad, or implicitly we can say, implicitly it is strengthening quad. So usefulness in this manner we can discuss. But whether the quad is losing its SIM, why we are saying that? There are some limitations. The focus of quad or the core objective of quad is non-military aspect, and that's why to some extent it is losing its SIM. Also we should understand that the Quad is not having its own secretariat or its own charter like other security alliances, for example Shanghai Cooperation Organization. To some extent it is security alliance also, okay, but and it has own charter, it has own its secretariat. At the same time we should also understand that Quad is not having any specific purpose. New objects are being added in its agenda every meeting, every year. So actually it loses its main focus because of that. Okay, so in this manner we should understand the limitations also. There are no specific, let's say, areas of discussion or let's say areas of activities also. Like this AUKUS, there is specific mention that nuclear submarine technologies is going to be transferred. So there is no such thing in Quad, and because of that, so it is being said that Quad is losing its thing. At the same time, you should understand India's interest in Indo-Pacific and then discuss in that respect. So what are India's interest, or we can say Indo-Pacific is great importance to India's let's say interest for number of reasons. What are these reasons? We have already discussed in ED lectures about this. We know that on India's west, to some extent there is a disturbance being created. For example, the changes that are happening in Afghanistan. So to some extent India's role is reducing in West Asia, or we can say the western part of India in Asia region. We know that whatever the Troika plus was there, India was not included. Whatever the talks that Russia is leading, so India was not included. To some extent India's role is reduced. And this is now the new opportunity created for India to be at center stage, to play important role in Indo-Pacific maritime region. Okay, land region, India's role limited now, especially on the northwest side of India, Afghanistan and that region. So now the new area of opportunity opened for India. Second thing, we should also understand that India wants to have peace and stability in Indo-Pacific region. This is important for India also. Okay, so maritime security and especially the strategic location of Indian Peninsula in Indian Ocean region. So strengthening that, let's say, position is in India's interest. As we know that around 50% of oil trade happens through that maritime route, right? And China's oil import complete. And we know that Andaman and Nicobar strategically located near Strait of Malacca, a narrow region through which all this trade happens. So that's why India needs to strengthen its maritime security and its, we can say, capabilities, naval capabilities, especially in that region. And surely such kind of alliances further strengthen India's interest in India's capabilities in that region. Okay, so in this manner we should understand the significance of Indo-Pacific. At the same time, we could understand that up till now in Indo-Pacific there is no substantial, let's say, interest or involvement by India up till now. How? Especially in terms of economic cooperation. Security alliance, there is no chance, because we know we always try to maintain strategic autonomy. But in terms of economic cooperation also, India has not been that much, let's say, significantly participated in that region. This is visible from withdrawal from RCEP negotiations 2019, right? And already UPC asked question on that RCEP. Okay, so in prelims examination there was question on RCEP. Members, they directly asked question in prelims examination. So at that time it was in news in 2019. So yes, regional cooperation, comprehensive economic partnership. Basically it is ASEAN plus 5. These 5 are free trade agreement members of ASEAN. Okay, so including China, Australia, Japan, South Korea also. Right, so India opt out of this. So India lost economic opportunity there. Second thing, the free trade agreements with Japan, Australia and South Korea, some of the important countries in Indo-Pacific region, that has not fructified up till now. Okay, so because of that, what is happening is economic framework, regional economic frameworks and bilateral economic agreements. So to some extent, India has been hesitant, and therefore there is less, we can say that the impact that India can have in Indo-Pacific region. Okay, when we have economic strength, to some extent that affects strategic aspect also, geopolitical decisions also, right? So because of that, we can say that it is impacting India's interests. However, we should also understand that why India has been such hesitant, especially let's say the Quad moving beyond non-military issues. There are two reasons that the writer is mentioning here for India's hesitation. First and foremost is that India always seeks to maintain and continue strategic autonomy. What is strategic autonomy? Many a time students read this in newspaper. Are you aware about this term?
Not influenced by others and dominance is not tolerated.
Yes. Okay. So especially when we say that, when we have foreign policy related or national policy related decisions, we have some kind of sovereignty there. That means those decisions are not at all influenced by the interest of other countries or influenced by other countries. That is called as strategic autonomy, right? And we try to maintain that. Whenever we have relations with US, Russia, Israel, France in terms of defense cooperation, we always maintain this strategic autonomy, right? So this strategic autonomy, whenever we have such security alliance, for example this AUKUS, to some extent US, if we are having similar kind of agreement with suppose US, it affects our strategic autonomy because these countries will dictate some terms and we have to follow them. Okay, so to some extent if it affects our future decisions. Second thing here important is China. We do not want to instigate China, right? China is our neighbor and economically also we are very much dependent on China in terms of trade. Okay, so the bilateral trade is huge. It is going to touch around $100 billion now. Bilateral trade between India and China. So that is also important aspect. So domestic policy compulsions, we can say, affects such kind of decisions. So that's why since starts itself, we have been emphasizing that Quad should not be militarized. And to some extent, we are the only country among that four that we do not want to militarize that. Try to understand. And the reason here is these two reasons. Yes.
But sir, then what will be the purpose of Quad if we are not strategically aligned? And what is the use of it for
Yes.
India?
Yes. If we, no problem. See, the Quad basically has the wider purpose than the military alliance. Wider in a sense, try to understand, all four countries are democracies. Okay, all four countries are democracies. They are located across Indo-Pacific region. Second thing, we should understand that why we are saying that wider. Yesterday we said that the areas of cooperation are very wide than the military aspect, narrow aspect. Like for example, critical technologies, climate change, anti-terrorism, cooperation, promoting rule-based global order, then we can say recently about vaccine diplomacy and vaccine cooperation during COVID times, right? So these are the major areas at present where the cooperation is. Now this is wider scale. to some extent it is like leading the world in these areas. Try to understand Quad grouping in all these very important in terms of anti-terrorism, climate change cooperation, vaccine cooperation, or we can say that promoting rule-based global. To some extent, is it not creating moral pressure on erring nations? What Quad statement recently said that North Korea should come on the table for talks. It said that there should be end of violence and military rule in Myanmar. There should be restoration of democracy. So moral pressure, US is there, Japan is there, Australia is there, and India is also there. So this is the significance of Quad. Yes.
Sir, US is like creating some problems for India itself, right? When we see for zero carbon emission, then it is
Yes.
asking India to substantiate that. Also, sir, when we talk about this vaccine diplomacy, so we have seen the attitude of US. So then, if you know, like, if the other nation who is in the supreme power
Yes.
is not actually supporting the nation, then why should it be in the Quad grouping or?
There are some problems in relations, but on the same front, US is also cooperating in some aspect to deal with climate change. Recently, there was agreement between India and US regarding transfer of critical technology as well as funds for mitigation and adaptation funds, right? So on one hand, yes, it is pressurizing, but on other hand, it is also helping us to overcome these emissions. Okay, so obviously this country will try to do that. So without conditions, it is not going to help. This has been there, always it has been there. And surely the US policy is always like a foreign policy that it seeks to fulfill first national interest.
Yes.
Right? So because of that such strategies, but it is to some extent India beneficial for India also. Because if there is any global warming or climate change in future, who is going to affected more?
The developing or the underdeveloped nations.
Yes, developing and underdeveloped countries, and we know that the extreme weather events, they are going to impact India more. Dense population cities. At the same time, we have very less mitigation and adaptation capabilities with us. Technology is not that much advanced, and that's why we need their help now. And we are trying to shift towards low emission technology. This is in our favor itself. Our Prime Minister from time to time is saying like that only.
So what is the disadvantage of associating with China itself? When we have to choose, then why not the best one?
China.
Sir, obviously, because you know the fiscal trade is also lacking with China, and China is the supreme leader in this Asian region.
Let me tell you that. See, when we have any kind of, let's say, blind faith or cooperation with other countries, always focus on the foundation and the polity of the countries. Instead of led by a communist or let's say the centralized, not will not say socialized, centralized power, we should be always following the democracy. Okay, the world should be led by a democratic nation rather than a communist or which always focus on centralizing the power. Okay, have you understood that China, whether China has been, let's say, good for its own people also?
No, sir, it is absolutely not.
Yes.
But then when we talk about in terms of economic growth,
No, we are cooperating. We are cooperating with China. The trade is continue. No problem. Okay. So, but just we need to have some kind of deterrence over its hegemony. We need to ensure rule-based order, right? Complete South China Sea is not property of China, right?
Yes.
This should be very clear. Okay. In our answers also. Okay. Yes. This is fine, right? Okay. So, what kind of questions? Discuss the strategic and geopolitical significance of Indo-Pacific region for India. And the other question can be specifically on this topic. Do you think that AUKUS security agreement will overshadow Quad alliance? Justify your view. So such kind of questions are being asked. Justify your view. Do you think that? Okay, so this kind of question, yes, you know about arguments in favor, arguments against, and to some extent you should be having the stand here that it is going to strengthen Quad, not against or overshadow Quad. We should have always positive, right, view here, and we know that Quad is in India's interest, and we are going to promote that, and our official stand itself says that it is not going to impact the Quad. Both are having different interest, and it is not impacting India's interest also. This is our official stand. We should maintain that. Okay. Now moving on to next article, high water. Yes, it is talking about the aftermath of this cyclone Gulab on the eastern coast of India. And yes, we know that there has been heavy damage to the lives and property. We can understand that cyclone management has been problematic. To some extent, we have improved over protecting lives of the people in last 2 decades. But the damage to the property, this has been major problem, right? Damage to the infrastructure, damage to the property, the livelihoods of the people. All these aspects are very important, and for that purpose, now we know that the focus now must be on relief and rehabilitation of those affected people in that region. In disaster management, 3 steps are there: pre-disaster, during disaster, and third, post disaster. Okay, so basically these 2 are very important, and very less can be done during disaster. Okay, so here the focus, preparedness, in terms of, we can say that, risk mapping, hazard and risk mapping of particular disaster. Then we can say that preparedness in terms of, we can say, evacuation. We are talking about cyclone, then evacuation, early warning systems, all these things can be there. Now during disaster not much can be there, but yes, surely all these can be protected in the shelter homes. These people, those evacuated, they need to be protected, they remain to be in the shelter homes. But post disaster, here rescue, relief, rehabilitation. Rescue, relief, rehab according to the timeline. Immediately focus on rescue, then after rescued, relief. Relief, there can be 3 aspects here: food, medicine, shelter. Food, medicine, shelter, and ultimately rehabilitation. Rehabilitation and resettlement, they come together. Okay, so resettlement and rehabilitation is long term. Many times the people loses their homes. Okay, so what happens for them? Resettlement, rehabilitation is important. Building the homes, giving them financial assistance for that purpose. It is long term process. Okay, and this requires a different set of actions on behalf of administration and government. Right, so in this manner we should talk about a disaster, especially for cyclone. Now when we talk about, let's say, why more destructive impact on cyclones originating in Indian Ocean region, there are only 7% of cyclonic storms originating in Indian Ocean region as compared to the world. Which are the different areas where cyclonic storms originate? Quickly tell me. Yesterday itself we talked about 4 different names in 4 areas. Which are these areas?
Hurricanes.
Yes, hurricanes. In which part of?
Willy Willy in Australia side.
Western Australia, Willy Willy.
Hurricanes in USA side, sir.
Hurricane in USA side, but which ocean?
Atlantic.
Atlantic Ocean, in Gulf of Mexico region, Florida and Gulf of Mexico region. Remember this, Caribbeans. Yes. Then Willy Willy in Western Australia, that is fine. Then
Tornado and
no, tornado is different concept. Typhoons.
Typhoons.
Typhoons in South China Sea and Western Pacific. Remember this clearly. Now, out of these 4 parts or regions of the world, only 7% of these cyclonic storms originate in Indian Ocean region. But they have significantly large impact on the lives and property as compared to others areas. Okay, why? The reason here is that we can say twofold reason. First, dense populated cities. Of course, more impact will be there. Along the coastal areas, densely populated regions are there. So that's why the impact on lives and property. Second thing is that we can say that our cities not equipped with or equipped to drain huge amount of water that is the huge rainfall during the storm in less amount of time. So that because of that flooding also happens, and people die because of flooding also in that region. And third thing we can say that the technology in terms of adaptation and mitigation. Very violent hurricanes every year along the eastern coast of USA and then that Mexico region. Every year that region faces. But that region is having some kind of adaptation and mitigation. You will not find many of the deaths happening because of that, or whatever the infrastructure that is built that is resilient to such kind of wind speeds from these storms. Okay.
They will build only wood type of construction in USA.
Yes. Yes. So, and yes, advanced early warning system is also there. All these things are very important. Okay.
Rescue program is also not very much.
Yes.
Organized.
Yes.
It takes time.
Yes. So, local level administration is very, let's say, strong there. Local level administration with enough resources and capacities.
But sir, they also have less population.
Yes, less population is there. So major aspect is this one only. Sparse population. Right. At the same time, awareness among the people, that is also very strong. All these aspects deal with, you write these points whenever we talk about the impact of these cyclones, why it is high in Indian Ocean region or Indian subcontinent. Other challenges are also there. Surely the weak penetration of insurance. Okay, so insurance, that concept is not at all known about, let's say, disasters and all. Up till now, only the health insurance people are getting know about this. Health insurance, okay. So accident related health insurance, term insurance. But what about the disaster related insurances? Okay, so we know that crop insurance is there for any kind of crop failure due to, let's say, the climate related activities. Okay, unknown activities. So weak insurance arrangement against such natural disasters. This needs to be improved. Then corruption in relief measures as witnessed during cyclone Amphan. So it is administrative problem. Right. So this aspect needs to be improved. So along with that, the other aspect you should talk about the capacity of the cities. To drain out storm water. This should be strengthened. This is going to help a lot. Okay, so whatever the urban planning that is going to happen in future, especially along the coastal areas, that should take into consideration this aspect, especially along the eastern coast. Okay, and in future we are, let's say, whatever the trend we are witnessing in recent times, the number of cyclones originating in Bay of Bengal, comparatively it is increasing. On an average, what is the ratio? If 5 cyclones are originating in Indian Ocean region, 4 will be in Bay of Bengal, 1 in Arabian Sea. This is the ratio. You can mention this in your answer. And this ratio is changing in recent times. In last 2 years, we have witnessed before monsoon every year, the cyclone is happening in Arabian Sea. Before monsoon, every year. So this is changing trend and it is affecting monsoon timings also. Right. So yes, in this manner we should understand about this cyclone management.
Rehabilitation capacity is also less.
Yes.
It takes time to resettle
Yes.
them. And then
Yes. Resettling. See, resettling and rehabilitation is not only, building the houses and providing some financial assistance. This is very broader concept. Rehabilitation is mentally aspect also. Social, psychological factors needs to be considered. When you are displaced from your homeland, then it creates social barriers, psychological barriers also. Okay, so whenever such resettlement and rehab happens, that needs to take into consideration all these aspects. So yes, so livelihood should be provided, major thing. Second, the provisions related to health and education. So school should be made available, health center should be made available, sustainable livelihood, not temporary. Okay, 2 गाय 2 बैल दे दिए और हो गया, आप देख लो आपका, ऐसे नहीं हो सकता है, right? This should not be there. Sustainable livelihood opportunities should be there. Otherwise, these people will go back to their places again. Okay. So again they will face the same problem. So that's why resettlement and rehab is very long term aspect and consider other aspects, broader aspect. Fine. Now moving on to next. Mr. Jaishankar in Mexico for independence celebration. Just you have follow up. Some facts are mentioned that India is Mexico's 9th largest trading partner. Okay, so it is significant for Mexico. Mexico is also developing country along with Brazil, India, China. Okay. And yes, Mexico and India are serving as a non-permanent members of Security Council, UNSC. So that is also important, cooperation in UNSC. India has been elected for 8th time now as a non-permanent member of UNSC for 2-year term, 2021-2022. Okay, fine. So this much information is sufficient. Now moving on. Prime Minister launches Health ID for every citizen. What is the name of the scheme? Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. What is the significance of this? Under this, every citizen would get digital health ID. जैसे आधार का नंबर होता है, right? So the similar kind of ID will be provided to each and every individual, and all the health records of that individual in the past will be maintained digital manner. That means all hospitals will be connected in this manner. So any person, if suppose today he is taking treatment in Delhi and tomorrow if he transfers to Kochi, his suppose hometown, then that information of that person receiving a particular treatment will be transferred digitally in that hospital. The doctors will be easily accessing his records. This is going to further strengthen health infrastructure, health services in the country. So yes, it would not only make processes of hospitals simplified, but also increase ease of living. Yes, ease of living, important aspect, health services. Then it would now connect digital health solutions of hospitals across the country with each other. So in this manner, significance of the scheme. Okay. Now, after understanding this, Prime Minister also talked about role of technology in health sector. We know that this is a probable question in mains examination, GS3 part. So he mentioned about Arogya Setu app, CoWIN platform and telemedicine, eSanjeevani. How it has helped to expand the health services during the lockdown time period. Telemedicine, eSanjeevani, launched in September month 2020, last year. Okay. So in this manner, we should understand the role of technology. These are 3 things, but there are many such things. Nanotechnology in health sector. Already UPSC asked specific question on role of nanotechnology in health sector. Okay. So then nanotechnology, biotechnology is there. Okay. Then you can talk about nuclear technology. in health sector. In this broad structures, then you write different points. How nuclear technology helps in treating cancer, right? Or you can talk about biotechnology and use of CRISPR-Cas9 technology, gene editing, right? CRISPR-Cas9, gene editing. This was in news last year. Chemistry Nobel Prize. Two ladies. Yes, CRISPR-Cas9. Already UPSC asked in prelims examination question about CRISPR-Cas9. Straightforward question was there. Okay.
Sir, rare diseases that was passed few months back.
Yes.
Can it be linked to the technologies which we?
Yes, you can link. Basically, technology help to diagnose, then treatment. So all these aspects are there in health sector. You can talk about. Then you can talk about, let's say, nanotechnology. In nanotechnology, remote delivery of drugs into the human body. You know, in nanotechnology, directly some small nanoparticles are there. They targetedly they use let's say these drugs in a targeted manner, targeted delivery of drugs, right? So they use this in a essay paper also, it can be there. So yes, fine. Now moving on to PM Kusum scheme, right? You know, I always forget the full form of this name, the scheme. Okay, so Prime Minister Pradhan Mantri Kisan Urja Suraksha Evam Utthan Mahabhiyan. We know that the present government has this tendency to name the schemes in Hindi language. Okay, but Kusum is to some extent not at all related to solar energy. So when we learn about this full form, then we can understand Urja Suraksha Evam Utthan Mahabhiyan. Urja Suraksha means energy security for especially farmers. Okay, so the ultimate target here, it is aimed at energy security for farmers in India. Along with that, ensuring commitment that we have in terms of NDC's nationally determined contributions towards Paris Agreement. What are those contributions? 40% of our energy basket is to be from renewable energy by 2030. So it is going to contribute towards that. Okay, so twin objectives. Okay, farmers' energy security and this environment protection also, climate change action also. Okay, so there are three components of this scheme which was launched in 2019. What are these three components? First component, standalone, or we can say setting up of 10,000 megawatt of decentralized grid connected renewable energy power plants on barren land. Okay, this is about power plants, solar power plants, okay, on barren land. But try to understand, it can be on barren land, it can be on fallow land, it can be on cultivable land also. Here it can be also installed on cultivable land, on stilts, where the crops can be grown below the solar panels. Stilts, जैसे समझो हम ऐसे लकड़ियाँ खड़ी करते हैं और उसके ऊपर पैनल लगाते हैं और नीचे जो है क्रॉप्स ग्रो हो रहे हैं. Okay, so yes, this is also good thing, and many times students may get confused that how this is going to be helpful. Basically, many times farmers keep some of the land as a fallow land for 1 year, 2 years, to let's say rejuvenate soil fertility. For that purpose it can be used, right? This land, barren land, that is well and good, but about cultivable land also it can be used. At the same time, it can be, let's say, individual farmers, group of farmers, cooperative, panchayats, farmer producer organizations, water use associations. Okay, so individual farmers, group of farmers, associations, cooperatives, so all they can come together and take assistance of the government in installing these power plants. Ultimately, it is going to help the farmers as well as they can sell the power to the DISCOMs and generate revenues and then distribute among themselves. Then second component is related to individual farmers. So it is standalone. Installation of 17.50 lakh standalone solar agriculture pumps. When we say standalone, it is not connected to grid. Okay, electricity grid, that means standalone. That will be used by that farmer only and for a specific purpose of irrigation. Okay, so, yes, install and use. So whatever the earlier pumps, diesel pumps, electricity pump, they will be replaced by these pumps. Okay, so for that purpose, but specific capacity 7.5 horsepower. Above that there will not be government support. Okay, so that is also good thing. Limited support is given by the government. So component C for solarization of 10 lakh grid connected agriculture pumps. That means whatever the earlier pumps are there, it talks about solarization of these pumps. So they are grid connected pumps. Okay, they are grid connected pumps. That means here the farmer can use the solar energy, or let's say the solar produced, we can say electric energy and electricity. At the same time, if suppose extra electricity is produced, it can sell to the DISCOM also. So it is augmenting farmers' income also. Three components, three different aspects are there. Fine, is this clear? Okay, now, so these are important, let's say, components. Now finally, an institution's right to government aid is not a fundamental right, Supreme Court has said. So it is talking about Article 30 clause 2 of that Article 30. Okay, so what is this clause 2 of Article 30? It specifically states that the state shall not, in granting aid to educational institutions, discriminate against any educational institution on the ground that it is under management of minority, whether based on religion or language. That means it should not give specific preference to minority managed institutions. Okay, the meaning of this clause is further explained by this ruling. Okay, suppose there are three institutions. Suppose there are three institutions, 1, 2, or we can say A, B and C. And suppose these are minority managed, linguistic as well as religious, and this is suppose general education. Suppose government scheme comes with some financial aid to all educational institutions. Then government should not discriminate among all these three. Equal aid should be given, even though they are managed by. So that means here there should not be discrimination, right? So this is what we are talking here. So they cannot ask the government as a matter of fundamental right to provide aid. These minority managed institutions, they cannot ask this as a fundamental right. Okay, this is what Supreme Court is saying. The right of an institution, whether run by majority or minority community, to get government aid is not fundamental right. It is nowhere mentioned in the Constitution to get the government aid as a fundamental right. Simply Article 30 mentions that all minorities, whether based on religion or language, shall have right to establish and administer educational institution of their choice. It does not talk about funding by the government. It is the welfare state objective of the government that providing such financial aid, supporting these institutions voluntarily. It can, or government can discontinue. Okay, it's policy decision. So you should be aware about this. Fine. Now, what could be answer to this question then? Try to attempt it. Both. Read statements.
No sir, two only one male reference. Only new.
Sir, option B, sir.
Sir, standalone solar 7.5 HP.
Yes.
Sir, first only is there.
Yes. So we are talking about PM Kusum scheme. We have to find the correct statements. Decentralized grid connected renewable energy power plants can be installed only on barren land. This only word is tricky. Many times students only read that first statement of that component. Barren land, oh barren land, remember. So you need to further read. This is given in government websites, okay, about this scheme. That information just now we read. So component A talks about not only on barren land but also fallow and cultivable land also. Okay, so this is incorrect. Individual farmers will be supported to install standalone agriculture pumps up to the capacity of 7.5 HP. Right, this is correct. So that should be 2 only. B is correct answer. In this manner we try to prepare government schemes. Some factual aspects will be asked in the government schemes. Okay, fine. Any other question?
Sir, in order to provide equity to the minority institutes, then there is a need to distinguish the aids, because in order to promote and in order to establish, you need to provide some kind of aid.
Surely.
So in that aspect,
Already government is providing more support to the, let's say, weaker sections of society in different manner. Okay. In other aspects, the government providing scholarships to the weaker sections, right? But what about linguistic and religious minorities? These are different aspects. But reservation and all these, let's say, affirmative actions, those are different concepts.
yes.
Right? So the financial aid to these minority rate, basically we are trying to preserve our diversity. We are protecting minorities. Okay, so that means this is part of India's culture and tradition. We are trying to promote that aspect. We try to protect linguistic minorities. Right? So in this manner the government is providing aid, but the aid is policy decision, not the constitutional obligation. In this manner we should understand. Right? Okay, any other question?
Recently Quad is coming to news rapidly enough. This Quad is going to be, may have the chance to improve the economic state for India.
Quad.
It is a useful group for economic growth for India or not?
Yes, to some extent it is helpful for economic cooperation, critical technologies, 5G cooperation. Just now we talked about yesterday the outcome, the technology statement, 5G initiatives will be there. Along with that, the initiatives in other critical importance, semiconductor initiative was there. Yesterday we talked about that. This is going to help India. We were dependent on China for that technology.
Recently Taiwan has been agreement to manufacture semiconductors.
Yes. So because of that we can say that the cooperation is going to be helpful for India for the economic aspects also, economic interest also. Okay, so that's why India is trying to maintain the presence, promote Quad grouping.
Sir, in that RECP group, sir, we are getting lost due to that free trade. Sir, at the end China will dump their product.
Yes.
But sir, we also want technology from Japan. So
Yes.
In Quad process.
Yes. Surely, yes. Through Quad, it is going to expand in future. Surely the cooperation will expand in the Quad. And RCEP we had other reservations also. Dumping is one of the aspects, but the other aspect related to domestic industry, especially food manufacturing industry, dairy industry. They protested against, let's say, Australia and New Zealand in that group because they have some kind of advanced nature.
New Zealand economy is
Yes, dairy industries. So because of that there was protest, and India to some extent because of those domestic compulsions we did not participate in that.
So can we hope for other nations to join Quad in future?
Actually there are talks of Quad Plus, but it is not materialized yet. But in future we can expect. The article mentions about that, Quad Plus. But up till now there is no specific agenda about this. In future it is going to expand.
So what is the stand of China against Quad?
China says that it is Asian NATO. Okay. It says that it is China, anti-China grouping, and it says that it is Asian NATO. Okay. So it is actually continuously, it gives, whenever the Quad summit happens, China gives such kind of statement immediately. That is fine. Okay. Fine then. Okay. We will meet tomorrow at the same time. Thank you.
Contact us to avail the combo offer of General Studies and Public Administration optional with 20% discount.